Hi guys, and welcome to D6 Evolution. I'm Wes, and I have Lewis with me tonight. How are you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm very good. How are you doing?
Man, I'm so excited. Why do you think I'm excited?
Oh yes. Maybe because there's some new Eldar rules.
Maybe we might have a
Just
book
a
here.
little bit.
Ah!
There she is. Oh man, exciting stuff. And kind of out of the blue. I mean, we were not expecting this. We're on a bit of a marine binge at the moment, and here
Right?
we go. We got Eldar and Drukhari rules.
And Phoenix Lords. At that,
And
I
Phoenix
never
Lords.
ever thought I'd see plastic Phoenix Lords. It's always been a dream, and we have them in this book.
Yeah.
I just want the
Well,
rest of
hopefully
them.
it's. Yeah, I was just about to say, hopefully it's setting a precedent because like things like Azure Man definitely needs a new model. But
Yeah.
that James R model is gonna look really good, and the same with Drazar as
Yeah,
well.
I've always been more of a Krandras man, so I'm really hoping for that guy to come out at some point.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and then they could do something awesome with that.
so actually, thank you for Games Workshop for sending this preview copy so we could go through it with you tonight.
Indeed, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So very exciting. First of all, I wouldn't be remiss with me if I didn't mention that I was totally expecting some Harlequins in this book with everything else, and there is no Harlequins. So
No, there's no
wah,
Harlequins.
wah.
However, that gives me hope that at
Yeah.
some point they're going to get a bit more dedicated effort towards the Harlequins, which will be
That is insane optimism there.
it'll make me really happy. I'm sure. I'm sure Games Workshop, you give us some good Harlequin stuff. That'll make us two
Yeah,
really happy. So
yeah, for sure.
I've not had a huge amount of time to go through all the book yet, but it's a
Yeah, me
fantastic
neither.
book. There's some really nice elements of background that they're pushing the lore forward. In
Hmm.
parts of it as well, it goes through the different craft worlds and how they're dealing with the malediction right now. There's some missions in there as well, and then the juicy bit that we really want to talk about today is the new rules.
The new
And
rules,
there are
indeed.
new rules for both the craft worlds and Drukhari, and not only that, the Ynnari rules have now been finalised, so you can actually buy them without having to go out and buy the old White Dwarf.
Yeah, I'm really glad they did that as well because when they started releasing stuff in White Dwarf, I was like, okay, this is cool. It's like how it was before, a little bit. And then I was like, yeah, but these are like whole codexes that they're releasing in White Dwarf. And I
Yeah.
was like, if you miss out on that, how are you supposed to find it? You're going to eBay and pay like 100 quid for it.
Well,
But no, they're reprinting them obviously, and yeah, here they are in this book
yeah, I wonder
with
with
some
the
changes as well. With some changes in them.
yes, there are, and we'll come into them shortly. So, where should we start? Craft worlds.
I think so. It's the biggest section of the book. It's got the most interesting thing. I think I'm kind of a little bit disappointed with the Drukhari stuff. There is some interesting stuff there, but no, let's start with the Craftworlds.
Okay, so where should we start? Chains are.
Yeah, let's go through the Jane Sile quickly, which is interesting because she's been obviously quite put out on the marketing team on GW's website. So people have seen quite a lot about her, and they did that little mini battle report with Draz out, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, not much to say too much. I don't want to go into too much detail. How she has dropped points. She is really, really good now. I can see why you take her. I think she's still a little bit squishy. I don't think she's got an invulnerable save, does she? She's just got the 2 up.
No, she
Uh,
doesn't. It's a bit of a shame.
so I was expecting that, to be honest, but yeah, she's a monster. She's really good, and if you're playing quite a few Howling Banshees, I could definitely see a place for her in the book. They also re-released the data sheets for Howling Banshees, and I wasn't seeing much changes on them. I just had a quick flick through it. Did you notice anything?
I couldn't see anything, to be honest.
No, and I went to the points costs as well because they have re-released the points costs for them as well, and they're definitely the same points costs. So I
Yeah.
can say that for sure. But anyway, they're actually markedly improved. So if we come on to the aspect shrines, we can probably explain why when we get to the Howling Banshee one.
Yeah, absolutely. Should we move on to that now then?
Yeah, absolutely, because these are the more interesting bits. As I said, what we want to do with this video, we're not going to go through every single detail, just read every single thing. We've been through the book. Where we've seen things that are interesting, we want to have a chat about them. So, Drainstyle's really cool. I'm not sure she's going to be like absolute prime place in every competitive list, so I think we'll move on from there.
Yeah.
But the Aspect Shrines is definitely going to have a prime place.
I'm,
So,
I'm really liking this.
how do these work?
So every aspect has now an additional 5 aspect warrior powers that you can choose from, which you can take in lieu of the current power, or you can take it for 1 command point as an addition to the current Exarch power, which is really
And
quite
so,
cool.
yeah, just to be clear, when you're looking at your data slate, every other data slates they say the Exarch of this has a power, like Crack Shock, for example, for the Dark Reapers, which normally affects just the Exarch. Things like that. I think the Warp Spiders one had like a no morale test thing. So this would be replacement of that, or you can pay the CP to gain it. So for some aspects, it's really good to to have it in addition because they're both awesome.
Yeah.
Like the Craftworld, for example. But for other ones, like the no brow thing's probably not so worth it on the warp spiders when you could take the other one for free, and there's some really good warp spider ones. So.
Yeah, it's great, and some of them are really flavourful, but not necessarily that effective during the game, and some are actually really quite stellar, which should give you some great buffs, the Aspect Warriors. So, which aspect do you want to start with then?
Let's just flick through in order. I think let's start with the fire dragons,
Okay.
which is unfortunately not the most exciting start because I was really hoping for something that would just help them out. They're a really cool unit. They're awesome, but they just struggle. They're really weak. They either need some more defensive abilities or some more movement or something. Some way to get up the board quicker and get out and do what they need to do. But unfortunately, I don't really see anything there that's worth necessarily talking about. There's some improvements to their melee, which is good. They've improved the Overwatch on one unit, so they can do a D3 mortal wounds to a charging unit in Overwatch, which is kind of okay, I guess. But no, I mean the only thing I thought, just looking at here, the only thing that was exciting, I think a little bit, but I really wouldn't be that enamored with it, is that when you advance, you can roll 3 dice. 3 instead of 1 normally, and you can discard the 2 lowest, so you're really likely to get a high movement boost. So if you start them in a wave serpent, get them out that 3 inches plus the other half inch or inch or so for the base, then you can move them to 7, and then you can advance, most likely getting a 4, 5, or 6, and then obviously, but then you're hitting a -1, but like that's the best. So nothing really to note there.
Although with the Eldar Weak Parallel, they'll be able to shoot at normal ballistic skill there, won't they? With
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. If you don't, oh no, if you keep them in Craftworld, if you swap to Ynnari, it's that. But yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I mean, I'm just going to caveat all of this video by saying, bear in mind, we literally just got the books, we flicked through it. I'm sure someone's screaming at the screen right now saying, "Oh, I've got the book in my hand, and actually, this one's really powerful," and there probably is. So if I say nothing alone, this just means as of yet, I haven't seen anything that excites me. But it is a big book, and there's a lot of rules that we have to read very quickly to do this video.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that little caveat goes in there in case I missed something.
So again, the fire dragons have some flavourful ones, but it's movement and some melee boost, which actually doesn't really boost their firepower potentials, which is where I really wanted some benefit these guys. So should we move on to Dire Avengers, which are the next ones?
Yeah, so Dire Avengers I'm super excited for because there's been a few builds recently, well not recently, but if you go back maybe 4 or 5 months or so, and before then, there's been a few builds where people have been mucking around with Dire Avengers and kind of getting them to work. I'm definitely not putting them in the top tier, but they are, they can be competitive on the tabletop, particularly with Azimon, giving them the 4-up and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot in this book that can make a Dire Avenger build really good.
Bless me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
So just a couple of things. Some interesting stuff. So they get this thing called Avenging Strikes. And I absolutely think this is just so fluffy and also really competitive. So they've really hit the nail on the head, this one. So whilst the unit contains a Dire Avenger Exarch, and any models from this unit have been destroyed, when resolving an attack made by the model in this unit, add 1 to the hit and wound roll. So you get +1 to hit and wound, which bear in mind is with their shuriken catapults. It means they're hitting on 2s and they're wounding, on 3s or 4s, occasionally on 5s. So yeah, I mean that alone is just awesome. Obviously, they have to lose a model in order to activate that, but that's the fluffy thing because they are Dire Avengers, and that is the point. Just to pause for a second on this, with these aspect shrines, some of them relate specifically to the Exarch, as in they boost him, and some of them relate to the Exarch's unit. And it's frustrating a little bit because some of the really juicy stuff is just for the Exarch, but one like this is for the entire unit. So that is really interesting. I was just thinking of ways that you could proc this. And I was thinking, if you fly like a wave serpent up or something and it blows up because your enemy shoots it, or you charge something that dies or whatever it is, then when you get out, you obviously have to roll for any casualties as you leave, and if one model dies, all of a sudden the whole unit can get their avenging strikes going on there, and getting +1 to hit and +1 to wound, which is in this game is just so strong. Anyway, you get rerolls or +1s are just what you're looking for when you're looking at these books.
Well, the nice thing about that means on a 5 now that you're going to be getting the -3 AP.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's really strong as well. But to be honest, forget all about that because you're going to be at -4 AP every time you shoot with these guys anyway. If you're going to go with the Dire Avenger build, I'm maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself there because that comes into the custom chapters. But there's
Yep.
basically a couple of ways where you can get the custom chapters going. So the other thing as well here, I think it's shredding fire. So I'm just going to read. Yeah, oh well, here it is now anyway. So if you don't take avenging strikes, which is really strong, but if you want just the AP and that's what you're looking at, then shredding strikes I think is the way forward. So basically, other than grenade types, which is obviously just their catapults, this unit's Dire Avengers Exarch is equipped. Will have an armor pen. Oh, okay. So it's just the Exarch on that one actually. So basically, the Exarchs you can give them twin shuriken catapults, and they are always AP -3 rather than being AP, AP dash, and then obviously getting the AP3 on 6s.
Yep.
So that's quite nice. As I said, that's what I'm saying. You've got to just watch where it's the Exarch and where it's the unit. So the whole unit get +1 to hit or +1 to wound, or just the Exarch can get AP -3 on their weapons all the time. So.
Yeah, it's not too bad, especially if you're taking the dual wield guy. It's a nice little bonus.
It's nice and he's cheap, and if you take a 5-man unit, that's 2 of 7 shuriken catapults. They're going to be getting that on there, so that's really good. There is also things later in the book, and we'll come on to them to give them plus to range and things like that as well. But we'll come on to that in the custom chapters.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Dire Avengers, they're back, baby, and I think they're pretty good. So yeah, take a look at those and see. I'll be interested to see what builds people come up with because they're cheap and they're troops, and people want to run them. So
that's good for me because I've got 3 squads sitting on my shelf right now, so they'll be coming out soon.
Fantastic, yeah. Well, that was the first unit when I got my Eldar army. That was the first unit I painted, and I spent like 30 hours painting this 5-man unit, and they looked amazing. And I looked at the rest of my Eldar army and went, "Oh my god, no way am I going to paint them all like this." But I'd finished off all the Dire Avengers, so I probably got I got about 20 or 30 that are painted up in squads. So yeah, I'd be pretty excited to get them on the tabletop after years and years and years.
Awesome. Okay, should we talk about Dark Reapers then?
Dark Reapers. So yeah, this is the one because this is actually the first thing I did in the book. I picked it up, I flicked through, and I'm like, "Are Dark Reapers good again? Are we gonna see them?" And the answer is kinda, yes.
Yeah.
So they've got a buff, hands down. They were already a good unit, and they're definitely improved. So there's no argument there. I think there's a few interesting things here. You get the +1 shots for the Exarch. That is just for the Exarch. But in a unit of 3, you've got 1 Exarch, and now you've got 4. Of your strength 8 AP -2, 3 damage attacks.
Yes, if you're maxing on small squads, that's probably the way to go with that, isn't it, I think?
I definitely think so, and I'm really interested in that, and I really like that because obviously the problem before was you take a 10-man squad or whatever the max squad was, and you're firing them twice, with the Word of the Phoenix, and that's just broken. So I appreciate they knocked it back, but this is a way to incentivize you not to go for the maximum squads, which is a really interesting kind of turn of events for GW because normally it's about piling on those combos and trying to get as much as you can out of one unit. But in this case, it's quite the opposite. It's actually min-maxing works really well. So 3 units of these, don't bother paying the CP, just drop the crack shock and take that, so it doesn't cost you anything. And now you're now for 6 for the price of 9. Dark Reapers in one squad, you're getting 3 extra shots, which is what is that 25% efficiency bonus.
Yes.
There's some maths for you.
Check you out.
So that's solid. That's great. That is really, really good. So yeah, that's an awesome one. The other one I thought was potentially interesting is you get +6 inches to range. I mean, they already got 48-inch range, so it's probably a bit wasted. But that is for the unit, so that's why I thought that was quite good.
And that would probably be better if you're taking a larger squad with that one to really get the benefit out of it.
Yeah, well, I've said in many a video before, never actually made it work, but I think a Bastion at the back of your board with 10 of those guys in it, with a 54-inch range that they're going to have, just shooting whatever they want without worrying. That's good.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah. Sorry, actually, just the other thing as well is if you take the Tempest launchers in the little min squads, which are really solid because they're no line of sight, they're 2d6 shots. You can re-roll the number of shots that you get with it, a bit like that sort of Cadian train. So
yeah.
That's good. So if you take 3 squads of those with the min with the Tempest launchers, you're getting 2d6 shots on 3 of them, and they're all re-rolling the number of shots as well. So yeah, honestly, nice little bonus. No one's going to complain about that. It's not super OP broken like it have been in the past, but they've got better. So no argument there. I could definitely see people putting them on the tabletop.
Yeah, some very subtle buffs here, I think, for these ones, actually. Cool. Should we chat about Howling Banshees next?
Howling Banshees, yeah. So I hadn't spent a huge amount of time with this, if I'm honest, because I was trying to get to them. Now, I actually think Howling Banshees could be really good. But I think I was kind of like working through it in my head, and I've looked at a lot of combos today that I think are a bit more interesting. They're super fast, as they always have been, but so they can get out of a transport, they can move 3. That's always a good way to get extra movement. Then I think they move 7 or 8, then they can advance and charge, and they get +3 to charge as well, so that's solid. But they have to advance to get that. So I think.
I think there's a buff to charge distance as well, isn't there? Somewhere is it +2?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, so they get +3 to charge anyway. So yeah, basically they get a 5 up, feel no pain in combat, which is quite interesting. It's probably the one I take. I don't think you want to drop the Exarch's ability, because at the moment it gives them -1 to hit in combat. I think this is one of those ones where if you're going to go into taking another power, you take it in addition and you pay the CP.
Yeah.
-1 combat where they want to be is the best.
Especially when they're quite a squishy unit as well.
Yeah. Do you know what I thought? Probably one of the best things is just when they charge into combat. If you're going to take another ability, it's the Nerve Shredding Shriek, which is roll a dice on a 4+, you do D3 mortal wounds to what you charge into. So that's a nice little addition to the combo. The rest of the stuff kind of affect the Exarch, so and there's some leadership stuff I think in there. So to be honest, I think that's the one to take if you're going to have one in addition. I don't think it's worth dropping the power. But again, I'm sure people are going to come up with some crazy good Howling Banshee builds, particularly with all the additional custom chapters and stuff. So I can see that them potentially working. But let's move on for now, because
just one more thing. You can tell they got new plastic models because they got 6 powers and everybody else got 5. There's no favoritism there. No. Okay, next one, Swooping Hawks. Actually, my favourite models. These are the first models I ever bought with my own money from Games Workshop.
Oh, really?
There we go.
When was that then? How long ago was that?
Too long ago. About 18 years ago, I think, maybe. Yeah.
Do you know what? Actually, this is what's made me stop painting my old army, because I got to the Swooping Hawks and I painted a unit of them and they just weren't coming out as good as the rest of the stuff, and I just gave up on painting it, and that was like the last unit I painted for them. So
disappointing.
Yeah. So Swooping Hawks, really solidly good. I think it's a little bit frustrating because I came up with all these cool combos and was really excited to release all this stuff, and the Warhammer community today just released a bunch of it on Twitch anyway. So yeah, obviously the one everyone's going to be talking about is the -2 to charge, which they're a good kind of screen anyway, because they're cheap and they can come down wherever you want them, which is really good as well.
Yeah.
Just being able to like rescreen, so they could have like one unit trying to screen over one side of the board in case you like deep strike screening, and then if that, I don't know, orcs unit, boys unit decide they're not going to deep strike down that right flank because obviously you've got a good screen of Swooping Hawks there, they're going to deep strike down your left flank, which maybe is a bit weaker, then obviously you've got the opportunity to redeploy them. They've got great movement anyway, so perhaps they can just move over there, but you can always just put them up in the sky, next turn bring them down as like the second screen back over that other flank. So that's quite useful. Obviously being able to put them anywhere on the board later in the game is always really useful, and that's why you did see them in some top tier builds a year or two ago when this book first dropped. But now that the fact that they have -2 to charge, and then when you're overwatching them, they're hitting with like they've got a lot of shots for raking through boys and stuff. So yeah, no, I think that's obviously one of the better ones in the book. If you're gonna swap a power, you're gonna pay the CP, you're gonna be taking that because you're gonna be building for it.
I agree.
The other good thing actually there is the little Swooping barrage. I mean, so basically what this is that when this unit contains a Swooping Hawk Exarch, add 1 to the rolls for the unit Swooping Hawk's grenade pack ability, which is a great little ability. But
yeah,
I think it's on 6s at the moment.
It's normally 6s, yeah.
Which is just not good enough, really. But 5s all of a sudden is like, okay, that's like kind of good. That's like middle competitive. Like,
yeah,
not super amazing, but not total crap. So
yeah, I quite like that one.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. All right, let's go on. So
Striking Scorpions.
Striking Scorpions. Again, I haven't spent, like with the Howling Banshees, I haven't spent some time here because not many people use Striking Scorpions, and I've never run them myself. So yeah. I was having a look. The only thing that just jumped out to me immediately is the bottom one there, which is Scorpion Sting. which is whilst the unit contains a striking Scorpion Exarch, add 1 to the rolls for the unit's Mandiblasters.
Yeah.
So again, a nice big unit there. There's some interesting stuff with them when they're in cover and stuff on there. Getting to fight first, I think.
Yeah.
And some other stuff. But
I quite like the Crushing Blow one, which is a +2 strength to the Exarch's strength.
so that's because he's got the Power Fist as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So make it strength 5, and then that would double to strength 10. So that's because at the moment he's strength 6, which is a bit.
Yeah. So yes, a strength 10 guy there. That's not too shabby actually.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really a shame with some of these melee stuff because a lot of times I've found anyway, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. And then your brain goes to like all the stuff that would combo with the Ynnari, because Ynnari are really not great, and the book, they haven't changed hardly anything in the book other than a few points cost and stuff. So, but they do center a lot around the close combat stuff. So when you're seeing stuff, you're like, oh, I know this. Strat from the close combat Ynnari stratagem table would work well with that. But you've got to remember with this, if you go for the Ynnari, I'm right in thinking this, Wes, you don't have access to the aspect shrines. Those are only for Craftworld. I'm pretty certain I said that at the beginning. Caught you on the hop there, haven't I?
I didn't.
I'm pretty certain it says at the beginning that the aspect shrines are only available to Craftworld attachments. Which obviously, if you're a Ynnari detachment, you're not a Craftworld detachment because you count as being reborn, as you're only reborn. Just while you're doing that,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just read through some of the others just so people know. So Scorpion's Grasp is when resolving an attack with a Scorpion Claw by this unit, it's Exarch, an unmodified hit roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage, which is quite good because it's got a few attacks. The Stalkers. So whilst this unit contains a striking Scorpion Exarch and is wholly on or within a terrain feature, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So that's actually quite interesting, because that's obviously when they get shot, they're at -1 to hit, and then you've always got lightning reflexes to make them -2, and obviously they deep strike and you can put them to cover as well, and they get cover save. So that's quite interesting. There's just some stuff there, but I think the Mandiblasters, if you're going to go for one and you only get one, you're going to go for that.
Yeah, definitely. So just confirm you were right about the it is only for the Craftworlds only.
Good, there you go. I
There we go.
Stop filling for time. And as I stop filling for time, the only one I didn't read is the only other good one, which I completely missed, and people again are going to be screaming at the screen because basically the other one is Withdraw, which is at the end of the fight phase. If this unit contains a striking Scorpion Exarch and is within 1 inch of any enemy units or any enemy models, the unit can make a fullback move up to 6 inches if it was the movement phase, which is amazing because it's any fight phase. So actually that's the one that's super powerful. So you can deep strike in, charge in, make all your attacks, and as long as you're still within an inch of an enemy model, you can then just move 6 inches back and pull out of combat. It also means that you could do that in the end of their fight phase as well, so you could pull back into combat, and that means you haven't fallen back in your turn, which when it then becomes your turn, you can then charge back into combat and re-Mandiblasters.
Absolutely.
So that is really good. I mean, that would be amazing if you could take that and the Mandiblasters one and just constantly pump.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't take multiples of the right-hand column, isn't it? And I think there's a few aspects that actually have that withdrawal as well.
Yeah, there's a couple others, and I think there's a Craftworld that lets you do it as well. In fact, yes.
Shining Spears get it, and the Warp Spiders actually.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to Shining Spears next then.
Absolutely.
Because this was.
You had this all lined up, didn't you?
I had it all lined up, but even more so, like I just talk people through my mentality. I read through the book, flicking through, and I just went, "Oh, GW, you spent so long convincing everyone that you weren't going to do 2 up rerollable and vulnerable saves, and then you've just put one in the book." Like, how did that kind of slip the net? So I fully expect this to be fact because it's completely against their design methodology throughout everything they've done in 8th edition. They've really made a conscious effort to try and avoid this. The only instance of a 2-up invulnerable save at the moment is obviously the Shadow Field on the Archon. and that specifically says you can't re-roll it, which is exactly the point. And also, when you do fail it, then you lose it. So it's got a balance to it.
Yeah.
But here, nope, you can get it, you can re-roll it. It's on what was already known to be one of the greatest units in Eldar Codex at various times, and so here we go. So basically, skilled rider. The unit's Shining Spear Exarch has a 3+ invulnerable save against attacks made with ranged weapons. So you obviously take that. I probably, well, to be honest, it depends what you're fighting against. You can decide this at the beginning of the game, because I think his other Exarch abilities only works against monsters and vehicles or something. But anyway, it's a CP if you want to take it, or you can just auto have it for losing the other ability. And the reason that's obviously really good is because you can cast Protect on the unit, which gives them +1 to all their saves, including invulnerable saves. So the 3+ invulnerable becomes a 2+ invulnerable save, and there's no caveat to stop you re-rolling it. And what you have to remember, obviously, as a good player, and if you watch our channel and you listen to all the stuff we do, then hopefully this will be ingrained in you. You can pick the unit pick the model in the unit that you take the save on. So Deathwatch do this a lot with their Terminators. They'll take one Terminator in a unit of Black Shields or whatever, and then if they're taking sort of regular AP dash saves, obviously they'll take him on the 2+ save on the Terminator until he dies, and then they'll go back on the 3+ and the rest of them. So you're essentially going to do exactly the same thing here. You're going to protect the entire unit, obviously, so that it will get +1 save, and then you're going to tank the big hits on the 2+ invulnerable save. So you get hit with a las cannon, you're taking that on the 2+ invulnerable save. If you fail it, you pay a CP and you re-roll it.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, you can make a decision about whether you want to take the smaller attacks on them, because obviously, you might not just take Bolt of Fire on that. You might just do that in the regular 3+
Yeah.
on the rest of them. But yeah, no, I mean, that's just so broken. That makes them so good.
I think the only balancing factor of that is you can only re-roll it once, and he's only got 2 wounds as well.
Wounds. Is it 2 or 3? It might be 3 because he's on a bike, actually. I know all the Exarchs normally have 2 wounds, but I think in this case it's 3. It's been on a massive chaos binge recently, so I've got to myself.
I'm all about Raven Guard right now. So yeah, I'll
yeah.
Shining Spears.
But,
no, you're right. 3 wounds. Yeah, because he's on a bike.
3 wounds. Yeah, because he's on a bike. So the thing is, you take a 2 wounds hit. I'd take the 2 wound hit on him, because even if you fail it, you're going to go. The chance you're going to fail 2. Well, you're going to get to re-roll it once. So you've got basically 3 rolls. So I don't know what it is. I know it's 1 in 36 chance to fail it with the re-roll. I don't know what it is to fail it again. So yeah, I mean, that just makes them so strong. And then bear in mind, you can still lightning reflexes. You can still make them, Altiop for -1 to hit. There's loads. In fact, there's some custom chapter stuff you can do as well. So no, I mean, I think Shining Spears are going to be super competitive now. If they don't change that, then Shining Spears are totally back on the menu. Because the other thing Shining Spears can get, well, anyone can get in this book, is lots of ways to get in plus to charge, which means they can deep strike and they can charge, or they can come flying up the board with a double move and charge. But I mean, personally, I'm feeling like Shining Spears deep striking, coming down, maybe giving them the custom chapter that gives them the plus to the range on the shuriken catapult, so they can come down and shoot at what the hell they want, and then they can tank it, because you give them fortune as well, don't forget that. So that 2+ invulnerable save guy can have a fortune on him for a 5+ feel no pain as well. It's just really good ways of making them combat, and then you can give them +3 to charge and come in. If you make them part of the Vigilus book, not the Blaze, the Defiant book. They've got that ability to charge into combat and then to bounce out of combat. There's just so much stuff you can do with them. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Shining Spears, plus people having the models from before. So.
Yeah. There's not many competitive Eldari players who don't have them hanging around somewhere.
No, exactly. So I can't see any reason why you would ever take another one. I mean, there's some cool stuff in there, like we mentioned the withdraw and mentioned a few other things. But if you're taking one, you're taking skilled riders.
Yeah. Why would you not?
So it's a moot point. All right.
Great. Should we move on to the next one then? So Crimson Hunters.
Yeah.
They were good anyway.
This surprised me. Well, I didn't think they would do this. I knew they were going to do this aspect shrine stuff, and I was like, oh, they're doing Crimson Hunters as well. So, look, why don't you take us through Crimson Hunters, Wes?
Well, the Crimson Hunters got several. The one that really stands out for me, though, is the +1 to wound. +1 damage against units that have the fly characteristic.
Yep. So they're already re-rolling wounds against them, and they're already re-rolling hits of 1, and now they get +1 damage against them. So,
which with a pulse laser, which is damage 3 anyway, so that's now damage 4 straight up. That's actually really quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah. And the star cannons. People started moving towards the star cannon build, and this is this is just making them better. I do not understand what Games Workshop are doing here. The only thing I can think of is they got some plans for chapter approved to like massively increase the points of all flyers, because like we just had the FAQ and that didn't change anything about flyers. We've just had a book that's released that's improving the worst offender for flyers. So the only thing I can think of is they're deciding that their rubric should put another, I don't know, 50 points or something for the value of being a flyer.
Yeah.
And being undercosted. I mean, I could see that working. I'm not totally enamored with that as a design philosophy, but nonetheless, it would help balance them. But
Yeah, absolutely.
But right now, until that chapter approves drops, when this book comes out, obviously it's on Saturday. Oh no, pre-order on Saturday, and then next week. They just got better.
Yeah. Well,
list at one.
So are there a couple of good ones as well? Actually, they can get a 5% randomable save.
Yeah,
which is not to be scoffed at all. Mm-hmm. And the other one is they avoid the penalty for moving and shooting with heavy weapons,
which they hit on a 2+.
Yeah,
but because they always move, that's why they always hit on a 3+ and they reroll 1. So that would mean that they hit on a 2+ and they reroll 1. So that's just +1 to hit.
That's a great bonus, actually, isn't it?
That is a really good bonus. I mean, to be honest, the way I kind of saw it, I was actually looking at the Strafing Assault one, which is the one you haven't mentioned, which is when resolving attack by a ranged weapon with this model against a unit which doesn't have fly. Is that right? Which cannot fly.
Yeah.
Sorry. So which cannot fly, it reroll wound rolls of 1. So basically, obviously, you can do the strat at the beginning of the before the battle. So if you're playing stuff with lots of fly, you'll give yourself +1 damage against fly. And if you're playing stuff with no fly and it's all ground stuff like the new Iron Sand stuff, or not the Pulsars, but the Leviathans and stuff like that, then you flip and you give yourself reroll wounds of 1 against that stuff just to help it out, because you wouldn't get rerolls against that. So it just gives you, it's what like the Chaos Knights book a bit, like it gives you the choice to kind of like set up your toolbox, and then whatever you play against, you're like, I'm going to take this match and that match, and just have all the tools for what you need.
And I think that's one of the key things to this, actually. It's flexibility when you're coming to the table, seeing what you're up against and what Exarch powers I really want to use in this battle.
Yeah,
which is that's huge.
Yeah, the other thing that's cool, no one's ever going to use it, but you can pivot 180 degrees before moving. So it just means you can go wherever the hell you want. Like, no one's ever going to take that, but it's just cool. Like, it's just if you're going to go fluffy and you're not going to go cheese, then you literally cannot take any of the rest because they are only cheese. So that's your one choice if you're a fluffy player. All right, and then the last one is the Warp Spiders, and this is the main chunk of the book that I was interested in, actually, was these aspect shrines. So we're finishing off now. So what do you think about the Warp Spiders then, Wes?
So I generally love Warp Spiders anyway, but I think you've come up with some great little combos here, haven't you? How to be really tricksy with Warp Spiders.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Eldar is they are all about like their tricksy little combos, and you've got to catch people out. And the thing is, I knew all this when I was playing Eldar a lot about a year or so ago, and I just haven't played them recently. And actually, it caught me out, and that's when my only loss at LGT was against Ricky Sims playing the Warlock Conclave, and he caught me out with every bloody Eldar stratagem trick there is in the book. Forewarned, firing out of combos, and jumping in, jumping out, and all that sort of stuff. And I really enjoyed that game, because think about afterwards, I was like, that was Eldar played really well.
Yeah.
And so when you're building Eldar, if you're trying to just compete on other people's on a level playing field with other people, you're not going to compete, because yes, they've got really good firepower, but they're really weak. So if you're just going to stand up there and shoot against someone else, you're not going to win. So you've got to be playing the tricksy little things. And I think Warp Spiders, they used to be able to do it, and then they were really worried about how strong it was. They kind of like nerfed them, and really in 8th edition they haven't been that great. But now these new Warp Exarch powers, I think they could bring in the back. So for me, the most exciting one is the one actually they just released on Warhammer Community today, which is the Web of Deceit. This is basically Dark Matter Crystal, for anyone that doesn't know. And the reason I think it's really good is because I play Zangors and I Dark Matter Crystal every game, and the value of the movement that you get out of that is insane. So if you get first turn, being able to just pick up your models and put them anywhere on the board at the beginning of the first turn on an objective, on the bonus point objective, that's what I do a lot, obviously. So you just secure that bonus point first turn. Yes, you lose a 5-man squad of Warp Spiders because they're probably just out in the middle of nowhere, but hey, it's just got you a victory point, which is how you win an ITC. So, so to be able to do that, be able to get them right into the backfield to threaten for the next turn. So you can try and make a charge out of Deep Strike, which obviously is doable. And actually, there's ways to buff it as well. But you can if your opponent's not expecting it and they deploy and they go, have you got any deep strikers? And well, you don't have any deep strikers, but you obviously have the ability to do this if you wanted to take it. Then they've got to suddenly start thinking, oh right, okay, well maybe I need to wrap my units really tight. Like I'm probably not going to do it, but at least I'm starting to make you play differently.
And it's the psychology of messing with people's game plan, isn't it? When you come to the table, it really puts people on the back foot. And having a couple of units of these lying around, being able to do that, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it just screws people because, like you say they ask you a question because they want an easy answer, right? They go, "Do you have any deep strikers?" They want you to go, "No." I've got nothing that's going to deep strike. Fine, I don't have to think about screening, blah blah blah. And when you go, "Well, I could take this. My warp spiders could swap to this unit, and I can do that first turn." All of a sudden, okay, so I've got to deploy really far back. I've got to screen perfectly in, and that will affect how efficient they are in their deployment for being offensive because they're having to play defensive. So that's really good. And then obviously, if they don't, then you got the chance. And even if they do, warp spiders 25 mil base, 5 models, they'll get into a little nook or cranny somewhere. Absolutely. Particularly later in the game when they're not expecting it, and they can still charge. They can still wrap up a Lehman Russ Punisher with the ridiculous battle cannon, whatever it is. They still have the ability to do that and stop that firing. So that little warp spider unit could be really useful, even if they never fire their weapons. And just the they've got. There is something that's really exciting, and it's literally on the next page, so we can start talking about it in a second. I didn't see. Rerolling all hits after a flicker jump I thought was quite cool. That's good. They've got the withdraw as well, like the other thing does, so that they can move 6 inches, so they can charge, and then they can move 6 inches back.
I don't see them too much as a charge unit, though.
Well, if you dark matter crystal and you can catch a Lehman Russ, honestly, I know they've just nerfed him, but like the Whirlwind Scorpius, for example, that's just kind of sat at the back of the base, back of the board, or anything that doesn't have fly, and typically stuff that doesn't need line of sight. So something like that would be at the back of the board, normally into some terrain, like trying to cover so it can't be seen. You deep strike, to the side of it or whatever. You make the charge, you wrap around it. All of a sudden, that 200-point amazing Whirlwind Scorpius isn't firing for the rest of the game until it gets cleared out by somebody else coming and countercharging, because it's wrapped up, it's pushed against a board, like a wall, so it can't fall back. And that squad of warp spiders just won you the game. So there is loads of little tricks like that when you've got the ability to do that, particularly on first turn as well, or even later. I mean, as I said, you can do that dark matter crystal like this. You can do it at any point in the game, so you could do it turn 5 if you wanted to go take an objective across the other side of the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, those are great stuff. Okay.
Should we look at the Runes of Fortune then?
Yeah, definitely. So this is an interesting little table. I'm going the wrong way. Anything of here that you pick up on, Wes, that you thought was interesting? A lot of low cost stuff.
So yeah, for me, it's the Ghost Walk really, which is picking a unit within 6 inches of the Psyker, and they get to add 2 to their charge rolls.
Yeah, it's so strong. Which
with any of these guys we've just spoken about now, they're going to be charging, even the Warp Spiders or Howling Banshees. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously charging out Deep Strike, you do have to be within 6 inches when you cast it. So it does mean you're taking passes on jet bikes, for example.
Yeah.
In order to be able to do it. But actually, it's just reading it. Sorry, it's any Craftworld Psyker, isn't it? It's not faster, so you could do it on a Warlock.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, so it's any Craftworld Psyker, which also means you can do it on your. You could take like the Wraithses as well, Spiritses.
You can give it to the.
Oh, that's Hemlock.
Hemlock as well. Yeah, so that Hemlock can go up there.
Such a good idea.
So turn 1, you get your Warp Spiders. Use the your Dark Matter Crystal. What's it called? The Web of Deceit. Shoot them at the board. Put the flyer up there. They then cast the power.
And charge in wherever the hell they want.
On a 7.
Oh man, that's so good. That is so good. I didn't think about that. Because I was thinking before, you're gonna have to put it on a fast on jetpack, which is good. It's super fast. It's still got like 22 inches of advance and stuff, so it's still like solid. But yeah, no, that's a good catch there actually, Wes. So yeah, I mean that's so strong. I mean, I am noticing, because obviously we've got our books for Iron Fists and Salamanders as well, and I'm looking at some of the other stuff that's come out recently, and there's loads of ways of reducing people's charge now. Even this book I think's got something. Oh, it's got the Swooping Hawks and stuff. So just time and time again, you're seeing loads of stuff with like -2 to charge, and I'm just thinking that means to counter that you have to have pluses to charge. So I'm really glad they're actually giving you +2 to charge as they are in here, because I think you're going to need that just to balance out to be a normal 9-inch charge when you're done. So that's really strong. I know obviously +2 charge coming out of Deep Strike is a 7-inch charge, which is a more than likely chance of actually making a Deep Strike. So.
Although actually, I think it says in here that you exchange it for Runes of Fortune disciplines. Oh, so no. Actually, yeah. So they can take it.
Yeah, the Runes of Fortune is
this one. Yeah. So any of the psychics can take this. Yeah, that's great.
So
definitely Hemlock. That's what it's getting.
Yeah, definitely, and that's Warp Charge 6, so it's pretty easy to cast as well. You might need a reroll, but you can do that. So there's a couple of smaller 4 to cast, which I think is really interesting, because it's hardly anything to. I mean, that's just almost like an auto cast, and certainly there's actually there's a Craftworld chart we'll come into in a second that makes all 4 to cast auto cast anyway. Yeah, I mean, for me, that was really exciting. I actually got super stoked by the impair senses. Now, I think you need to think about your list when you're going to use this. The Ghostwalker isn't obvious.
Yeah.
You're going to cast that on your Shining Spears coming out of Deep Strike or your Warp Spiders or whatever it is. But your impair senses. So I'll just read it for you. So it's Warp Charge 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches and visible to the Psyker until the start of your next psychic phase. When the unit is chosen to shoot with models in that unit can only shoot the closest visible enemy unit unless the target of the attack is within 18 inches of the shooting model. So first of all, you've got to think of 2 things. You've got to think of what's going to be your screening unit to achieve that, to be closer than the model you want to be shot at, not to be shot at, and what's the unit going to be doing the shooting. The unit doing the shooting I can't figure out right now. I don't know what the best thing is, but bear in mind that stops that unit that you cast it on, and it is only casted on one unit, shooting your entire army. They have to shoot whatever it is that's closest and visible to them. So this is where I start thinking maybe the Warp Spiders, because so you can Weber to seat up first turn. So presumably you get first turn or in your first turn. You Weber to seat up in your first turn, which gets you right up the board, and you leave them kind of like standing on top of a building or whatever it is. It's really out in the open, so they can definitely be visible, so they can't move to avoid being seen. You cast impaired senses on whatever it is that's scary, and hopefully they've got one big unit that is the thing that you want to die. So like a knight, for example, and then in your opponent's turn, that knight can't shoot anything but those Warp Spiders, because they will always be the closest, because the Deep Strike's really close and the rest of your army is really far back. And then in his turn, when he shoots the Warp Spiders, well, you flicker jump and you just put them behind cover, so then you can't be seen and then they can't be shot. So at that point, if I'm right in reading this, and people may correct me if I'm wrong, they've selected their target, so you flicker jump, so you can't select a new target, and obviously the flicker jump behind the cover, so they can't actually be shot. So that knight then can't shoot anything.
Does flicker jump still work that way these days?
I think so.
I thought it was just -1 to hit with flicker jump.
Did they nerf it? It's in the codex.
Yeah, so I think flicker jump is just -1 to hit.
It's been so long since people have used the.
Yeah, so flicker jump. Yeah, so when you flicker jump, you just roll 2d6, and as long as it's not a 2, it's a -1 to hit.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah, you're thinking old school flicker jump.
I'm thinking old school flicker jump. It's been so long, isn't it?
Yeah.
I should have read up on that. My apologies, everyone.
It would if that rule's still in play, that'd be a great tactic there, Louis.
Man,
thanks for that one.
But, well, put it this way: if nothing else, that's the kind of thing you want to be looking for. But nonetheless, you just let them die, because who cares about a little 5-man unit of Warp Spiders?
Yeah, sacrificial lamb up there.
Yeah,
it means the big bad unit is only going to be shooting.
Yeah,
a few points worth.
Yeah, so like you can still cast. They can still be Arteok, and you can still cast lightning reflexes. So you make them -3 if you really wanted to try and tank the shots. But to be honest, I just let them die. Or all the other things, you drop your Shining Spears in and tank it on or 2 up and vulnerable, reroll and vulnerable. So, but the point being is, it just forces them to shoot, at the closest target, which can just invalidate that unit. Which you got to be careful with it, because I was just thinking how it would work in play, and obviously they'll know that, so usually they'll want to shoot that unit with something else first. But if you're clever with the placement, then you can put it in a place where only that unit would be able to see it. So it's just sticking out behind a wall. Obviously we play this rule that not a lot of people like. I think it works fine, but a lot of people don't like it, where if you can see even the tip of a spear or the top of a horn or something, then you can see the model and you can shoot it. So that means that you can hide something almost entirely behind cover, that the tip of the spear can only be seen by that model. So if you've got something that doesn't want to move or can't move, some artillery or something like that, then you cast this on that unit. If that's if that unit can, if you've dark matter crystal, or web seated the warp spiders to like behind that unit, so nothing else on the board could see it, then obviously that would be the closest visible, and then you have a shooter. So you can play with it with other units as well.
Oh, so and if nothing else, you're manipulating their movement to some extent, so that they have to get in a position where they're not having to shoot at that.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Cool.
Right, let's move on through these. So I don't want to spend a huge amount of time because I really wanted to talk about those things first, the aspect warriors and the powers, because they're obviously the best.
Yeah.
The Craftworld attributes in general, my opinion with this is they are good. There is some builds that are going to work that's going to make it really, really good, and people are going to figure it out. They're going to have some awesome combos come out of this for sure.
Yep.
But for the most part, it is you're giving up a lot, and that's a hard decision to make, because straight away you don't get any of the Craftworld specific warlord traits, because you're not that Craftworld. So loads of things come to mind, like spirits. So the Iandan trait to let your spirits to reroll hits would be amazing with some of these Craftworld attributes, but you don't get that.
Yeah.
The build, I think it's the Biltan one to give you aspect warriors +2 to charge, which would suddenly give them +5 to charge.
Yeah.
With the things you can do with this book, you don't get that. So you just got to be thinking, like what actually am I giving up to get?
It's very similar to the Space Marines one, where they've given you the ability to add flavour to your own army, but they've not made them any better really than the main attributes that you can get from the main craft worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, when we come onto the Drukhari, I think that's I just think they're worse for the most part. There's one or two that are good, but just in general.
Cool. Should we have a sorry?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, interesting, you do get to take 2, so there is some combo stuff to go in there. How do you want to do this? Do you want to just read through a couple, or I've got a couple I did?
I think just take the ones that you think are good.
Yeah, okay. So in really no particular order, because I kind of wanted to group them a little bit into what kind of works together. Let's talk about the shuriken ones first. So there's one to give you +4 range on your shuriken, which works on everything. So your obviously your 12-inch guardians become 16-inch.
Yeah, that's nice.
And your 18-inch Dire Avengers become 24-inch, which they do struggle on the range. That was their kind of limiting factor before, and this just gets rid of that. So
yeah.
That's really good. You also get the shurikens give you +1 AP, which I think is amazing. So as I said, that AP3 becomes AP4 when you get the +1, but just AP -1 on stuff has always been really good. With the release of the new books coming out, AP -1, there's a lot of avoiding that. But
and that's when you're in 12 inches, isn't it, I think?
When you're within 12 inches.
Yeah, so things like jet bikes with the twin catapults.
Yep.
That's actually really nice then, isn't it? That's 4 shots going down at -1.
Cough, cough, shining spears, cough, cough. Or the +4 range. I mean, obviously that's at 12-inch range, but the +4 range on the shuriken, on the shining spears when they come out deep strike, that means they can shoot what they want. So that's really good.
Absolutely.
That really combos quite well with the Guardians get reroll 1s. They worded this so weird. They say it's like when a model shoots, it gets to reroll 1 as long as it's a Guardian model. Well, there's just Guardians, so fine. And they only come in units, and every model in the unit would get the reroll. So I don't understand why they've decided to change the lexicon for that. But that is. But no, it's Guardians get reroll 1s basically. I was trying to think if there must be some peculiar way where they've done it, but
no, because actually it's like all the support batteries and things. They have the Guardian keyword as well.
Oh right, so it means that the actual support shot thing won't get the reroll one. It's just the Guardian guys. This is a model count. The actual support battery doesn't. The model doesn't count as it. It's just the crew that get them -1.
Just had that page. you can fill for a sec.
No, the whole thing's got it. So so the models can. So you can reroll 1s with that anyway. It just means you. Yeah, but they count as separate units as well. So you can just reroll 1s on your support weapons, which is really strong actually. You can take. Yeah, for sure. Take the Shadow Weavers are already really good because they need line of sight, D-cannons.
Yeah, that's good actually.
Yeah, I think support weapons are quite good at this. Actually, there's a few things if you're going to go for a support weapon build that you can do. In fact, as we talk about that, there's a reroll hit and wound anyway per model, so you can just take that and then your D-cannon support platforms are rerolling hits and wounds anyway. Or a single hit and wound, which is obviously just it's one shot anyway. So and then there's reroll 1s when disembarking, kind of good. If you're going kind of Wraiths, there's a reroll wounds of 1 on Wraith units, on Wraith constructs. So that'd be pretty good for your D cannons and stuff. And then you get the reroll hits in other ways. So yeah, like there's some interesting stuff, but I just still, you're going to take that over like -1 to hit. It's a
Probably not.
hard choice to do. So
Yep.
yeah, there's nothing super broken that just immediately makes you go, oh, I'm not going to take that. And there's a lot of replication with the marine books that we're seeing as well. So cover it over 12 inches, ignore cover on shots and stuff like that.
There's nothing really there that beats Laytok.
Well, the only thing I would say, I would agree with you in principle, but I think the best ones here is +1 charge, just +1 to charge. So you ghost walk, and then you have whatever you're casting it on has the +1 to charge, and now you'll get +3 to charge for everything coming out.
Yeah, and the Banshees have +3 anyway, don't they? As well, I think.
Only when they advance, though.
Yeah.
But that would give them +6 to charge.
Yeah.
So that's like another 6-inch movement, basically.
Yeah,
so that is good.
That's serious.
And they avoid Overwatch as well, so that's really good. So yeah, I think that's just +1 to charge, and amazing. And the thing is, you take 2, so you go, well, I'm going to go custom chapter or Craftworld because I'm going to play Shining Spears, and I really want to make the charge when they come out Deep Strike. So I'll give +1 to charge on the power, and then I'll do the Ghost Walk to give them +2, so that's +3. And then you're like, oh, I get another Craftworld battery. I'll just take whatever I want, and you can just have a flick through and just be like, oh, I'll just take that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I'll get my +4 range of my shurikens, or my +1 AP on shurikens, which is amazing. Or another one we haven't mentioned is charge when you fall back, and don't have to move towards the nearest model when you consolidate.
And
I'd probably take that one.
That's a really big one, actually. I really like that one.
Yeah, if you're not doing the Vigilus Defiant, because in the Vigilus Defiant book, you're obviously going to charge in, shoot, charge in, then bounce back out at 16 inches and go behind a piece of terrain or something. But if you're not doing that, being able to fall back and charge is really good, so you don't get bogged down in a combat you don't want to be in. And not having to move towards the nearest model is insane, because that means you can, and they've got fly as well, so you can just go straight over things, get to exactly where you want to be, get into that terrain or fall back into a piece of cover, or you can go wherever. Not being able to move towards the nearest model, that is so strong in the Consolidate, because it's just another 3-inch move. And you can go anywhere you want. So yeah, that's good. You can move 3 inches away from them and not be in combat. So in fact, you could charge in, keep yourself wrapped in combat, and in their turn, even if you don't kill them, you can just pull back 3 inches at the end of your combat phase, so you're not within an inch of them. And then in your next turn, you're not within an inch, so you can go do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, very good.
I like it.
Okay, so I think that the only other thing that's probably worth mentioning is the little one I just mentioned earlier, just to kind of tie that bow up, is there's one that gives you, so when a psychic test is taken for a model with this attribute, each individual dice roll of 1 is treated as 2. So first of all, this is interesting because you do take maybe a Supreme Command attachment, and right now, if you took a Supreme Command attachment of, I don't know, Farseer and a couple of Warlocks or something, just to get some psychic powers, it doesn't need to be there's not really any Craftworlds currently that would make much value there. You kind of just be picking one because you have to, but straight away you're like, well, that's 3 models in a detachment I've just taken for that purpose. I'll take this because then I get essentially +1 to cast if I roll a 1, and potentially +2 to cast if I roll 2 1s.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what that means is there is no way, if I'm right again with maths, that you can fail a cost 4 power off the fortune table.
No, not at all.
The new table, because if you roll a 1, it becomes a 2. If you roll a 2, it's already a 2. So literally, there's no way you can not roll a 4. So those 3 smaller powers in the fortune table are just auto casts, guaranteed. Obviously, someone can deny them, but they're auto casts. So.
It's really good.
Cool. All right. Okay.
Anything else?
Very quickly.
You want more to go through?
I was just going to say. I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time going through the Drukhari stuff, because I haven't been super excited. So we can do quickly just cover a couple of things that were interesting, just our top couple of things. So
yeah, absolutely.
So Eldar overall very good, very interesting. There's quite a few shenanigans with the leadership stuff that we didn't talk about, but I think we've covered the main stuff. You're going to go specific into those builds if you're going into them. So
absolutely.
Okay, so on to Drukhari.
Should we talk about the main man first?
All right, you talk about Drazar then.
Drazar, he's my favourite. I like the rules. I'm just overall a little bit disappointed with the Phoenix Lord's base stats, when you consider they are the supremo fighters of the Eldari races. Their stat lines are Primaris captains pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'd like them to be bumped up. I think they should be, just shy of being sort of Primarch sort of stats. But that said, though, he's got some great little powers. He hasn't changed too much. I think the main change is really is now damage 2 with his weapons. And with the lethal precision special rule he's got there, on a roll of a 6 to wound, you get +2 to the damage. So he's potentially doing 4 damage in an attack there at -3 or -2. That's pretty good.
Yep.
And he gets
he's still got 2 up save, and
he's still
very
2
similar
save,
to James R in
5 up invuln, and he also gives +1 to wound for friendly incubi units when they're in 6 inches of that model.
Yeah, which is really good. And there's a few other things you can do with them. I can't remember what it is, like reroll hits and stuff like that. So there's some. They could be good now, and the models are amazing. So if you want to take them, you've got a reason.
And I really like the incubi before anyway. They've got quite a lot of attacks. It's 3 attacks base, 4 attacks for the Clavex, and especially these still have the power from pain. So on turn 2, they're rerolling the charges. On turn 3, they get +1 to hit. So these guys are whirlwinds. They can really do some damage there.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I think there's ways of giving them a few other things as well. Even looking at them as Ynnari, as I said, Ynnari's very slow, centered around close combat, so there's quite a few stuff you can do to help them out in that respect as well.
Yeah. So should we chat about the obsessions that we got for the Drukhari?
Yeah, God, this really did not make me happy. I've got more of a love for Drukhari in recent years. My Eldar, I played quite a lot of Eldar, but then I moved on doing the flyers and stuff like that. So it was kind of a different type of Eldar. But I was playing Drukhari because I really just loved them, and I was just so excited by the Cabals. I've always thought Cabals were cool. I own like 7 Raiders and like probably about 50 Warriors at this point.
Yep.
I just think they're so awesome, and I just read through all these, and I just couldn't see anything.
So they've pretty much
exciting.
So they've pretty much split it down again to the Cabals, the Covens, and the Cults, and selections that you can build up for those guys. And for me, the Cabal ones, there's quite a lot of focus around being in combat. And for me, the Cabal guys,
what's going to be in combat?
Cabal guys aren't going to be in combat. So I find that a little bit odd.
The only thing I was thinking is like, okay, well, you take 3 Archons and then like a Supreme Command, or like a battalion with some other stuff. But it's just like, what are you going to give up? Like Agents of Vect, or like or any of the other like good, obviously Drukhari stuff.
Because I'm a Flayed Skull man, where you get the +3 to your move and you get the rerolls the 1s with the splinter weapons.
Yeah, they're amazing. Or like even like Poison Tongue again, you miss out on the strat, so you don't get the Poison Tongue strat to redeploy 3 units. I was looking at some of this thinking, like Toxin Crafters, for example, which is one of the things they will come into a second. There's things that would combo really well with like Poison Tongue, but no, you just don't. I'm not excited. The only thing I would mention here is Soulbound. If you wanted to make your own detachment, it seems to me that is like basically replicating Agents of Vect, and that it counts as +1 to the power from pain, and it gives you vehicles inured to suffering. So if for some reason you wanted to take 3 Ravagers and you didn't want rid of the Living Muse as a relic to reroll hits and wounds of 1, and you didn't want Agents of Vect, you could take Soulbound to have just one of the combos that you could have when you go that route. So but then obviously you can combo with some of the other traits and stuff. But I don't think it's worth giving up what you would give up.
No, I think the actual obsessions in the main Cabal list are so much better than these, even in the combos.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only thing I saw here was a Toxic Crafters, but it's not great. But basically, any unmodified wound roll of 6, gives you 1 extra damage on splinter weapons, which you can take Raiders. I got Raiders because I love them, because I think they're the coolest model that GWA got, one of them. And you can take the Splinter Axe, and you can pump them full of Splinter rifles, but you're fishing for 1s with no AP. Fishing for 6s with no AP. So I don't know.
Should we move on to Witches?
So again, kind of like some of the other stuff, I think there's some nuance in here that just needs a bit of time to think about the list that it would work in, because there is some cool stuff here. Hyper Spin Sim Backlash only costing 1 CP as one of the traits is pretty good.
Yep.
I think it's +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles is pretty good if you're going to go down that route.
I like the Slash and Impact one. Thinking about my Reavers, it's kind of going back to that again. So after model this obsession finishes its charge move, you can select 1 enemy infantry, biker, or monster unit within 1 inch and roll a d6. On a 5, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound. That's
Yeah,
per
but it's your whole
model.
trait. Is it per model? Is it?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
per
yeah,
model. Yeah,
okay.
so
Oh,
so
that's
after a
cool.
model with obsession, finish
Yeah,
the charge move.
yeah. Oh, all right. So what you can do is you could take, is it 12? I think you can take as a
12
max
Reavers.
Reaver
Yeah.
and you give them 4 of the grav talons or whatever they are that do that on a 4+ anyway.
Yep.
And then you do this as well, and you do the eviscerating flyby, so you're doing the mortal wounds before you do that. I like
So
that.
you only
Yeah,
got 12. A third of them are going to go through, so that's four mortal wounds pretty much there statistically.
yeah.
Plus the
That, and
ones.
you're gonna get 2 out of the grav talons because I think it's on a 4+, so that's
Yeah.
6, and then you're doing eviscerating 5, which I think is on 5, or it might be on 6.
You know, and if you're doing this with larger units as well, like the witches, you can go up to 20. The chance of you getting 20 all within an inch stuff is quite difficult, but yeah, there's definitely potential there.
Yeah, yeah, no, that yeah, actually, you know, I really like that. But to be honest, for me, there's only one, and it is so powerful. And if we don't see these on top tables when Drukhari make the top tables, I'll be super surprised. I don't know the chap, but Sean Naden is always a guy that runs kind of quirky lists, and I know he was doing quite well with some witch combos, locking people in combat. If he isn't running acrobatic display on his witches, I'll be very surprised. So acrobatic display again. GW finally kind of twigged to start releasing the coolest stuff first when they do their releases, because definitely all the cool stuff's been released, and you get the book, you're like, oh yeah, no, none of this is as good as what I already knew that was in the pre-order. So, in the pre-releases. So yeah, basically, acrobatic display is +1 invulnerable save when you're in combat. So your witches that get a 4 up in combat get a 3 up in combat, and then they get a 6 up, feel no pain. So a unit of 20 witches, which is going to lock stuff down with their no escape rule and their shard nets, and then you normally have a succubus there to mean they have to roll off again, mean you're not escaping them, you aren't getting out of combat, and what you're trying to hit is 3 up invulnerable save with a 6 up feel no pain and 20 models. It's just disgusting. It's a great tar pit. I mean, it's on par with a plague bearer tar pit, to be honest.
That's really good, isn't it? That is really
Yeah,
good.
it might even be better. To be honest. So yeah, that is solid. Definitely can see that working. And you know, you get do you get 2? No, this is one of the ones. And there's a few in this book which says if you select this, you can't select a second. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It would be too strong otherwise.
So.
Cool. Okay.
Anything else on the witch cults?
Go. No, I mean, as I said, there's some interesting there to get to exploding. It's 6s give you +1 AP, and exploding 6s on to hit rolls of 6s give you an extra attack. So there's some stuff in there, but no, I think that acrobatic display is the main one. Although slashing impact on Reavers, I'm excited by that actually, because I really want to play the Incarn, and we'll come on to it in a second, but I think it's worth playing now. And slashing impact with some Reavers, so you fly them up there, they do loads of mortal wounds, then they die, and then the Incarn pops out. That could be good, and then heroic intervenes.
Yeah, even maybe with Hellions. This might be a use for Hellions. I don't know.
Yeah, because you get more in a model. Yeah, Hellions in a Bastion. I'm calling it again.
Yeah, nice one.
Charging. Yeah.
Do you have shares in Bastions? Do you have a squadron going at the moment on eBay?
I don't even own a Bastion.
Okay,
I've had one for a while, but I donated to the club.
Let's have a chat about Covens.
Yeah. Okay. Coven. So actually, yeah, there's some strong stuff in here. Like, hands down, if there was one thing, well, other than the acrobatic display, that I'd say that is competitive in the Drukhari section of this book, it is the Homunculus Covens. They've really done it well. You've got a hard choice because it means you're dropping Prophets of Flesh, which is your +1 invulnerable save. So, like, you know, if these were in the main book and then a book came out that said +1 invulnerable save, everyone would instantly drop all of this and go for the +1 invulnerable save. But because people have been playing the +1 invulnerable save so long, I can imagine that people will move to this as an interesting alternative, but not necessarily.
Yeah, you've already got to try and tempt people away from that one, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I really want to do some Covenant 12 stuff because I think they're really cool and like they can shoot characters and stuff. But no, it's always going to be Prophets of Flesh. So just very simply, the one I think that people are going to be taking if you're going to move away from that, because it is the choice, is you swap your defense for offense, and basically it's Dark Technomancers. So that's when a unit with this obsession fires Overwatch or is choosing to shoot with, you can choose to enhance any or all of the ranged weapons in the unit. If you do so until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack with that weapon, add 1 to the wound roll and 1 to the damage roll, or damage characteristic of that attack. If you roll a 1, you suffer a mortal wound. So this is super good. Straight away, you've got to be going to Haywire Blasters. Oh my lord! So Haywire Blasters already are super strong.
Yeah.
They used to be even better because you could re-roll wounds, and that would be more likely to get those sixes for the D3 mortal wounds. But getting +1 to wound on that and +1 damage means that your normal damages that go through that they make the regular saves on or whatever are going to be damage 2, and then on a 5+ you're getting D3 mortal wounds, and on a 3+ you're doing a mortal wound. That is so good.
Yeah, that is pretty good actually.
So good. And who cares about taking the one wound, like the one mortal wound, because you get a 6 up feel no pain, and you're bloody Talos anyway.
Yeah.
So who cares?
It also works pretty well with the poison one, especially when you tag it with the next one we're going to probably chat about as well, because it's your poisons then wound on 3s.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so we'll go on to that now. So experimental creations. Why don't you talk us through that, Wes?
Yeah, so experimental creations add 1 to the strength characteristic of all models with this obsession. When resolving an attack with this poison weapon by model with this obsession against a unit that has a lower toughness characteristic, so if you're taking Talos, that's most things, then the attacking model add 1 to the wound roll. For the purposes of this obsession, a poison weapon is any weapon that has a poison weapon ability.
Mm-hmm.
So now
you're adding two to the wound roll.
Yeah, so the poison weapons are now poison 2+ with extra damage as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And they've got some good poison. I mean, they can take splinter cannons. There's some good stuff there. Actually, what I was thinking was really good would be the liquefier guns.
Yeah.
So they're like flamers. I just have to get them up for a second to remember. So I think they're like D6 flamers. But you can take quite a lot of them. So you can take grotesques, for example, and each grotesque can have a liquefier gun. So you can put all of those on a Tantalus. Okay. And so the Tantalus can be a Coven, well, it has to be able to because it's a transport. So you can make it a Homophilus Coven Tantalus, which means the Tantalus itself, which gets like 12, strength 8, AP -3, 3 damage shots, which is insane.
Yep.
Now gets all of that with +1 to wound, +1 damage. So it's strength 8 +1 to wound and 4 damage. So straight away the Tantalus itself becomes an absolute monster.
Yeah.
It's just going to destroy the hell out of anything it shoots. It's like you're shooting like 12 shots at a knight that will wound on 3s. They're AP -3, I think it is actually. So they're on their invuln save, and then every one that goes through is 4 damage. It's just insane.
Unfortunately, this bad boy, it's not actually poisoned. The liquefier gun.
No, not the experimental creations. That's the Dark Techomancers.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't. So I'm talking about Dark.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But then what's inside the Tantalus is a bunch of grotesque, and every single grotesque is going to have a liquefier gun. I mean, this is a ridiculous build, but it's just exciting to think.
Yeah, I like that actually.
The liquefier guns are. So this is why I think it's really good on liquefier guns. So liquefier guns are essentially a flamer, right? So they're 8-inch range.
Yeah.
They're assault D6. Their problem is their strength 3, right? That's been their downfall. But obviously you're giving +1, or in this, it's not a poison weapon again actually. So it's just +1 to the wound roll, which kind of counters the strength 3. Then it's AP -D3, so you roll a D3, so it could be 1 or 2 or 3, and it's damage 1, but that obviously becomes damage 2. So it's a D6 flamer that's basically +1 wound and damage 2, and you can take I guess 8 in a grotesques in a Tantalus with that. So you're doing 8d6 damage 2 flamers auto hits. After the Tantalus has done its massive attack. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, something to think about, isn't it? Definitely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else?
Then,
anything else stand out there at all?
No. No. I think
I think that's the combo there, isn't it? The Dark Technomancers and the experimental creations. That you pretty much go to if you want to go away from a 4+ invulnerable save.
Yeah, and bear in mind you get both of them. You could flip over if you're going to go for the Dark Techomancers and you're going to run Racks particularly, but even on your Taloses and stuff, that Obsessive Collectors is pretty cool. When you kill something in melee, you heal D3 lost wounds, or which I think is really better on Racks, you actually get D3 models back, which is always useful for like stringing out and tagging that objective that they thought they'd taken from you. You're going to go away from Prophets of Flesh to take Dark Techomancers. That's your choice.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if you're doing that, you get the choice of 2. So you're going to choose one of the others. So there's some interesting stuff there.
Absolutely.
So that's really powerful. I'm gonna put the hands up and say that is solid. Like there's gonna be some good builds out of the back of that because especially with the haywire stuff, that's gonna be. Really
the Coven stuff is probably where the most power was really in the Drukhari Codex, and I think they've just got a bit of a buff there offensively.
Yeah.
If you want to go from the defensive 4+ invuln.
Yeah, and it's a shame because this was their chance to buff up like Cabal, for example, and they just haven't done it. So yeah, just note that the Tantalus and the Reaper, the Reaper, the Forge World one,
Reaper.
they can be Homunculus Coven, but the others can't. But they can still, so like a Razorwing Jetfire can be Cabal and it can be Witch Cult and stuff. But no, those are the only 2 vehicles that can really benefit from this. Oh, Raiders can benefit from that. That's where experimental creations comes in.
Yeah, sure.
Because Raiders got 2 splinter cannons on them, so now they're getting +1 to wound, +1 damage, and +2 to wound and +1 damage. They're winning everything on 2+. It's not a vehicle, and even vehicles they win on the 4+, don't they? Because they still got +2 to wound. They win on 6.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
I think that's probably about it for Drukhari, though.
Yeah, let's close on Drukhari and just finish off very quickly on Ynnari. There isn't much to say. We haven't been through every line and seen whether everything has changed.
I tried to quick cross-reference it all. I couldn't see any dramatic changes with the Ynnari at all. Subtle word changes.
Yeah, I was going to say what they did that really annoyed me is overall they've improved the layout of the book. So where stratagems weren't lining up, they swapped stratagems around to make it line up, and the same with the text in the data slates.
Yeah.
But what that means when you're comparing like for like, because it looks like it's a completely different.
Yeah, because
I have to read every word.
So I look for the shape of the words or the paragraphs to see if there's any changes. Like, you buggers, and they split the Ynnari power out as well, didn't they? For the Blessings of Whispering God and I think it's Avatars You Need. They split that into two powers when it used to be one before, but from what I can see, rules word changes, but nothing that really stands out. I think the only thing really to talk about is actually the points changes that we've got there,
which is insane, and it makes me so happy. Go on, give us the points of the Ynnari now. But wait, before you do, 337 points was what it was before. I feel like it got dropped in points already, actually, to drop to that, but 337 points is it. What is it now, Wes?
280. On the
280
nose.
points. It's like 54 points, I think it was. Or 57 points, in fact, actually. 57 point drop. Oh, my Lord. Suddenly it's playable because it was almost playable with 337. I saw some people trying it on. As I mentioned, I think Sean Naden took it, or so anyway, someone in America that did quite well with it. And it's great. It's such a good model, but it's just too overcosted. Yeah. And I think they got it right. I obviously always want it to be cheaper, but I feel like they knocked it on the head there. Like 280, I think is good.
It feels about right for that, doesn't it? I think absolutely.
Yeah. Just a piece of advice: if you're ever playing it, you have to figure a way to be heroically intervening into combat, because what you don't want to do is just drop down, sit there, and be shot at, and then try and charge in. So you've always got to be trying to figure out, like, when you kill a unit, can you be close enough that you can heroically intervene? And I'm pretty certain you can do it as often as you want. So you can land somewhere, and then you can drop and move somewhere else.
So unfortunately, the heroic intervention thing doesn't work. Because it's coming, so it's part of the FAQ of the main rule book, because it's essentially coming in from reserve again. When you come in from reserve, you can only charge. That's the only type of move action you can actually make.
You can't heroically intervene when you come out. Oh, right, well, no, 280 points is not enough then. It needs to be about 200.
Yeah,
is that sure? Right,
yeah, I had that clarified yesterday, so.
Oh, right.
Which is a real shame.
Oh, well, that's a shame. But nonetheless, it's still an absolutely amazing model. It's 9 wounds, so it's a character that's like the maximising the character. It's got a 5 up feel no pain, I think, as well. And its sword is just amazing for killing things like knights and stuff. So that's really good. It's it's a lovely model as well. So
it's beautiful.
Ynnari totally cool, and now they've got some more stratagems and stuff that can help it out. So
and Yvrain and the Visarch dropped in points as well.
Yeah, Visarch was a big drop.
Yeah, he's 80 points now, isn't he? I think he used to be like 130.
I think it was like 120 or 130 or something stupid before. It might have even been more. It might have been like 130, 140.
Let's just say he was 500 points before. Now he's 80 points.
Which is right. 80 points, and the thing is, that's a cheap HQ. Particularly, I know Drukhari struggle a lot with your Cabals. If you want to keep a detachment, you've only got 3 Archons that you can have, and there's no other HQ choices. So being able to squeeze the Visarch in there as another choice means you can take 2 battalions.
Yep.
So if you ever want to take 2 battalions, but you can do it. It's a nice cheap HQ option. And finally,
he was 120 before, so he's now dropped by 40 points.
Yeah, it was the same price as a Forge Farm. I know he's more expensive than a Forge Farm before by 10 points.
Yes, that's a good adjustment. And now Yvraine is gone from 132 to 115.
Oh no, I think she's got doesn't she have a piece of war gear that puts her up another 5 points or something? Or is that Jane's R actually? No, I'm thinking about Jane's R.
I couldn't see any war gear points.
No. Sorry, I'm thinking about Jane's R. Jane's R is 115, then has the.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah, so that's it. Points changes. I don't think we haven't noticed anything in the book that's changed. It's just a reprint by the looks of things. But yeah, massive points changes. So very good. Super stoked about the Incarn. Super depressed to hear that you can't heroically intervene her anymore.
Sorry.
Anymore. So yeah, keep up on your rules, guys. Especially if you're going to play, like as I said. So for me, I haven't played Eldar for a while. End of last year, I played a lot of tournaments of Eldar, and then I kind of went back to Chaos. So when you go back to those books, obviously a lot's changed. A lot of FAQs are out there. So like I'm learning today, make sure you go read all your rules before you go tell everybody how to play the game.
Oh, you're turning into Andy.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, I think that's pretty much it there, isn't it? So
it's a big book.
Yeah, it is big, and you know we've just touched on what we've stood out to us initially. I'm sure we'll touch on this stuff again. There are just so many different combos in here across a plethora of codexes. The combos are probably crazy, and they're out there. Go find them. Let us know what you can can see.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, a great book all round. Some exciting stuff for sure. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. So
Absolutely.
if you've got any interesting builds that you're noticing straight away, put them in the comments. And as always, if you like what we're doing, please do subscribe. It helped us get the book early so we can give this video. So, and I'm sure if you keep on, Gina will give us some more goodies.
And this is the first one of the Psychic Awakening. There's going to be more, and I'm excited.
Yeah, well, book 2, I supposedly has some chaos in it from what I've seen from some leaks online. So if it does, I'm straight on that.
Exciting. Well, guys, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.